Welcome back to NewsX World. I'm Asuma Kataoka and you are watching Focal Length, where we get you a briefing from topics from across the world. Tensions remain high in the Russia-Ukraine war, even as flurry of diplomatic activity gains momentum. On August 7th, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the conditions were not yet in place for a face-to-face meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, just hours after Zelensky expressed willingness to hold talks. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has confirmed that Putin and US President Donald Trump will meet in the coming days. This comes as Trump threatens new sanctions and tariffs against Russia and its trading partners if a ceasefire is not reached by August 8. Zelensky has also called for stronger European involvement in the peace process, pointing to a closer alignment with Kyiv's interests. Joining us now is Halyna Yanchenko, a leading member of the Ukrainian parliament since 2019. She has authored multiple anti-corruption bills and plays a key role in parliamentary oversight on investment policy, judicial accountability, and business climate reform. She also serves as Secretary of the National Investment Council and chairs the Temporary Special Commission on Investor Rights. Since the start of the war, she has led refugee support initiatives like Pre-Kyiv Talk, which has helped over 1 million Ukrainians find shelter. Thank you for joining us, Halyna Yanchenko. Pleasure to have you sit with us today. My first question to you is, US President Donald Trump has floated a potential summit with Putin. Does Ukraine see value in this meeting, or is it seen as a political theater by Kyiv?
I really hope that we are moving toward the end of the war. There is no other country and no other nation than Ukraine that wants the end of the war so much, especially given that this war is actually an unprovoked act of aggression by Russia. That is why we really, we are very grateful for any kind of assistance in ending this war. But will these attempts give a real result now? We will see. In my opinion, the fact that Putin has started to talk to Donald Trump is rather an attempt of Putin just to buy more time. I believe that Putin needs 3 types of resources to continue this unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine. We are talking about military, basically soldiers. We are talking about defense industry, the weapon, and we are talking about finances. In my opinion, Putin does not have real problems with people. They have 140 million people, and Russians are not. They are not able to actually protest even when their rights are heard. So he does not have problems with human forces, with soldiers. Talking about defense industry, in my opinion, Russian defense industry is on its peak, but it's still more or less okay. But what really bothers Putin and what can be a real game changer is finances. And that's why Putin is afraid of any additional financial sanctions, especially when we are talking about secondary sanctions. Another thing to consider is that actually India continues buying an enormous amount of Russian oil and gas. Over these years, India has increased the amount of oil that is being imported from Russia 22 times. Together with China, India buys Russian gas worth of $115 billion annually, while Russia spends $150 billion on the war. So basically, we can actually make a conclusion that it's India and China is funding this unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine, because basically supplying Russia with funds to fuel the war machine. And that's why Putin understands it, and that's why Putin is afraid of secondary sanctions, because it can actually cut Russia from the main buyers of their oil and gas, and basically stop funding of this war machine.
Yes, indeed. And Halyna, now President Donald Trump is pressuring Russia with threats of secondary sanctions. As you mentioned, India is one of them who is facing these sanctions and tariffs. How does Ukraine view this strategy? Helpful leverage or risky diplomacy?
I believe that this is an only working tool that can be applied to stop this war. Moreover, I believe that only funds matter to Putin, as we already mentioned, on one hand. On another hand, I believe that India is led by smart leadership, and when given a choice, either to continue economic cooperation with Russia or to have trade relations with the whole world, the choice will be absolutely clear. Because when we are talking about secondary sanctions, we are actually talking about the choice either to continue working, cooperating, supplying with something, or buying something from the countries which are basically a root of all evil, like Russia currently, or to be a part of the civilized world, to have an opportunity to trade with the rest of the world, to have an opportunity to exchange technological, like various kind of opportunities, etc., etc. And for me, it's absolutely clear that India is a part of civilized world. So I believe that the choice will be clear.
Thank you for sharing that. And Halyna, now, after the recent deadly missile strikes and continuous strikes on Kyiv, what immediate steps is Ukrainian parliament taking to improve civilian protection and morale?
Well, we continue supporting Ukrainian defense industry. I should say that Ukrainian defense industry became one of the most innovative and dynamic industries in the world. Over the past 3.5 years, Ukrainian defense industry has grown 35 times, which proves that this is the most dynamic sector of economic, but it's also very important for us to protect our civilians. And we will be happy to actually share these technologies with our partners, with the countries who are helping us to protect them and help them to protect themselves from the authoritarian regimes or countries which can actually cause some invasions in their neighbors. This is the main focus of the parliament, of the government. We are improving our air defense, and I'm very happy that the number of companies which are producing weapon or dual-use products, including air defense, is growing in Ukraine. Currently, 80% of Ukrainian defense industry is private companies. They're very flexible, very innovative, and they're really, really working, really helping to change the situation and protect civilians.
And Halyna, now, with major NATO allies like the Netherlands now buying US weapons for Ukraine, now, how is Parliament integrating this support into the wider defense plan?
We have actually quite a support from partners. Last year, the amount of so basically, just to explain the situation, there are two types of military assistance from our Western partners and generally civilized world, and we really value both types of assistance. First is direct military assistance, so basically when our partners are producing some type of weapon or dual-use products, especially air defense or ammunition for air defense to protect our civilians, and then pass us the weapon. Another type of assistance, which is very appreciated as well, is the direct allocation of funds to procure weapon or ammunition for Ukrainian defenders from Ukrainian defense producers. And we are talking about so-called Danish model and Swedish model. But the reason why these countries are providing this type of assistance is not only to help Ukraine, but I believe that they will also take advantage of this cooperation, because especially when we are talking about Swedish model, when foreign governments are supporting the cooperation and co-production, they basically stimulate their defense producers to cooperate with Ukrainians and take advantage of these technologies, take advantage of an opportunity to test their air defense, for example, or other types of weapon right on the front line. So as a government and as a parliament, we create a favorable conditions, favorable legislative framework. We give companies an opportunity to test their samples right on the front line, so they can speed up their innovation cycle, and we can have more efficient, modern tools to protect both our defenders on the front line, but also civilians in the cities around the country.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And Halyna, lastly, experts suggest that Europe may need to arm Ukraine through 2027. How is Parliament planning for long-term support, especially if U.S. backing wavers?
Well, we hope that American support will continue. The type or the model of cooperation might change, but currently we are also working on so-called drone deal, when modern drones with all the technologies that we came up with and tested on the battlefield will be traded in exchange for American ammunition and also missiles, for example, for Patriot, for air defense. So we are searching for new models of cooperation to make sure that American partners, European partners, and also partners across the world keep this interest and go on with cooperation.
And Halyna, we continue this as the EU pushes for greater defense independence under the Readiness 2030 plan. Does Ukraine see a role beyond just being a beneficiary?
Of course. My huge ambition is to change the role and basically the role of Ukraine in Europe and in the world, the way foreign countries view Ukraine. We are not, a small brother. We are not beggar. We can be quite an equal partner because we have something to offer. We have technologies to offer. We have our experience to offer. We have the strongest army and the most experienced and the most motivated army in Europe. We have the most innovative technologies in Europe. So actually, various military units or like NATO or like some other military units can actually benefit even more from having Ukraine as their members than any another period of time before. So that is why we actually are talking now we are talking not only about direct military assistance, but we are talking about various kind of bilateral agreements. We are talking about co-production. We are talking about and we are negotiating about basically agreements that foresee cooperation and exchange of technologies, experience, etc. Moreover, I should tell you that recently, just a few months ago, there was a huge military training taking place in Estonia, one of the Baltic countries. They were trying to test a situation if Russia attacks NATO countries within the new with their new technology, so basically with drones, etc. And basically the main military instructors for that NATO training were from Ukraine. And the main actually drones which participated in that modeling or that NATO military training were also from Ukraine. So it means that Ukrainian role is growing, and we really, and actually NATO countries, European countries, US, other big countries around the world can benefit from partnership with Ukraine. I'm very proud of this fact.
Thank you for sharing that. And now looking at recent news that has come out of Ukraine, President Zelensky's anti-corruption bill has sparked backlash over judicial independence. How is Parliament responding to the criticism from Ukrainian people within Ukraine and global leaders, even now the bill has been reversed?
Well, this problem is already over because it's solved. I did not vote for the legislation that was criticized by the public, so I can talk about quite freely. There was a reaction from civil society, and it's fantastic that Ukrainian president as well as the parliament proved that they can react quickly, that they do have a dialogue with public. So those legislation changes were cancelled, and now we can actually declare that the problem is solved. Protests are over, people are happy, and we go on as a democratic country, unlikely, Russia or some other countries which imprison people with different opinion.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Halyna Yanchenko, for sharing your perspective with us on Focal Length, for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights all over from Ukraine. We truly appreciate your time and perspective. And that's a wrap on this episode of Focal Length. For more insightful interviews and global briefings, stay tuned right here on NewsX World.